Hi, this is Stephanie Miller from The Stephanie Miller Show. Please enjoy this exclusive clip from my show on Political Voices Network.
He, though, has the right to testify, regardless of what his lawyers may strongly advise him. I am confident that lawyers like Susan Neckles are going to throw their bodies in front of the witness stand, trying to get him not to take the stand. And if you are the prosecutors, you are just licking your chops thinking, fine, you want to take the stand? Great. The amount of cross-examination material, Jen, as you know from having watched him and covered him, is, thousands and thousands and thousands of prior inconsistent statements. That's a polite way of saying lie.
Let's talk about, since today is gag order day, let's talk about that first. One expert, your friend Andrew Weissman, said you have Donald Trump clearly goading the judge, obviously talking about the jurors yesterday on top of the previous 7 violations. What does the judge do today, do you think?
I mean, I do think he'll impose fines. The statutory maximum in New York is $1,000. And we both know, Stephanie, that that's not going to do anything to Donald Trump. $1,000 means nothing to him. So I don't really think that's going to help. Right now, the lawyers, as we're talking, the lawyers are back in chambers. And that happens sometimes. Judges will take both parties into chambers. And it's usually when the judge wants to have a more informal setting. It's still on the record. That's about as informal as it gets with a judge. So there's still a court reporter there, but it means that it's outside of the public view. And I think there's going to be in that discussion some frank talk about how the attorneys have no control over their client. Okay, that's really why I think that the judge has decided to do that. I don't think that he's going to imprison Trump before the trial. I just don't think that, or before a sentence. I just don't think that's going to happen.
Every party's got its pooper. That's why we invited you this morning, Renato.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just being real with you. Like, all of you cheering for that to happen. That is not actually going to happen. And people who are telling you that are lying to you or misleading you. I will say that what I expect will happen is the judge is going to make it apparent to Trump's attorneys that this is making him really unhappy, and that it's going to impact his rulings at the trial in not so many words. He's going to imply that, and he's going to try to have them exert maximum pressure on Trump because they don't want to lose the trial.
Yeah. So, obviously, we've been talking a lot about, you actually said it best on Twitter. You said Trump has been charged with falsifying business records, not with making the hush money payments themselves. That's why the defense is going to focus on whether Trump knew about the false statements in business records. Again, as many people have said, paying someone off is not the crime, correct? Do you think the prosecution did a good job in laying things out initially yesterday?
I do. What I will say, Stephanie, is, one thing they're doing, and this is, I think, prosecutors do this all the time, is instead of focusing entirely on, their presentation was not as sharp as what I put on Twitter that you were reading. In other words, they're not focused like a laser on the legal issues that matter, which they don't need to. They're talking to a bunch of people who are not lawyers. Okay. Now, one issue for them is there's 2 lawyers on the jury. Yeah. But generally speaking, they're talking about a grand conspiracy to influence the election. I think that's important because you need to show the jury, like, why are we here many years later talking about what happened years ago? Like, why is this important? Why does this matter? I think that as the trial goes on, though, Stephanie, I think the points that I was trying to make about the legal issue are going to come into focus because it was apparent to me that Trump's legal team, despite in the beginning saying all the claptrap about how it didn't happen and he didn't really have an affair and whatever they want to say, they deny everything. Yeah, they got to and focus on the legal points.
Speaking of being able to control your client, is Trump going to? Would we be so lucky that Trump will testify?
I don't think
maybe
so.
If the late night hosts goad him enough. I mean, because of course, as
he
usual,
said he was going to talk to Mueller and then he didn't. Right?
Yeah.
He said, and even. In the state AG trial, the New York Attorney General trial, a civil trial, like, he did not testify at the trial. So I don't see that. I don't see it happening.
Yeah. Well, I unless they have a tranquilizer dart, I'm not sure how they stop him. But here's the thing: is you tweeted, "There's no question the prosecutors have the upper hand in his trial. They usually do. This case is no exception. But Trump has some paths to a hung jury or full or more likely partial victory, which is why the fault lines above will be the focus at trial. All the stuff you laid out. I think that's what we're all afraid of, particularly with this blatant, jury tampering, witness intimidation,
Right.
whatever you want to call it, going on with him and his allies on Fox News or whatever. Someone was saying, I don't even know if 6 alternates are going to be enough. And that must be something as a prosecutor, Renato, that would terrify you, that all you need is one person to get spooked enough, right?
100%. I don't think 6 alternates are going to be enough. I would have pushed for more if I was trying this case. I think prosecutors should be concerned. That's why I put some of this out there. Is I think that the reason that prosecutors give plea deals to defendants is because there's a risk at trial. And here there's a risk. Right. There's a risk that you have a hung jury because you just have one person who's, there's one person on that jury who watches Fox News. Okay, there is. Yeah. We learned that from the voir dire. Similarly, like I said, there's a couple lawyers on the jury. They could get hung up on a very technical point and say, he's only guilty of a misdemeanor, or maybe lead the jury in a path that's pro-defense. You don't know that, and so I just want people to understand when there's going to be an intense fight in this trial, that it's not just some easy fight. It's a challenging fight for prosecutors. They certainly have the upper hand. Yes, Trump is likely to get convicted. It's always the case in a criminal trial that the prosecution has the upper hand. But I just want people to understand what the fault lines are going to be.
Now, I wore my 45 in jail shirt for your appearance today in anticipation. So are you saying even if he's convicted, there's no chance that they will, or you're just saying for the gag order?
For the gag order. Yeah. For the gag order, I don't see that. I just think that's like very far afield. It's like beyond unprecedented. Do I think the prosecutors are going to seek prison time if he's convicted on the felony charges? Yes. Will the judge give that? Potentially. I mean, that's another a facet here that is interesting is most people, and since I was a federal prosecutor for a decade, for the last 8 years or so, I've been representing people who are investigated, indicted, tried. Generally, because my clients know that the judge is going to be the one sentencing them if we lose. Yeah. So they're really nice and very compliant with the judge's orders. So Trump is going to rue the day that he thumbed his nose and attacked Judge Merchan if he ends up losing and is facing a sentence.
There it is, my first drink of the day, Z-Biotics pre-alcohol probiotic. Many of you know my story. I stopped drinking wine for 3 years during COVID, during the lockdown as part of a health reset. Now I drink wine in moderation, but this is an amazing new product. I've always believed in probiotics. And Z-Biotics, check this out. You drink just one of these. It's the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. I am using this and I feel great in the morning. I don't have to worry if I have an extra glass of wine, I still feel great in the morning. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. I've always had acid reflux problems. It is this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Z-Biotics produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. All I know is it works. It is Z-Biotics pre-alcohol probiotic. Go to zbiotics.com/politicalvoices or scan the QR code on the screen right now.